So cut forward a few months, I've just been editing every day instead of being out here working on this thing. But what I have done, yes, that's right, it's all pulled apart again. So I spoke to Panic, and what they think is the problem is that this wheel here is actually rubbing on the housing. So you might be able to see that I've already spaced this one out. I've actually spaced them all out already, but I just wanted to show you how to do that. So I need to undo the grub screw that's underneath, slide these out so that they don't bind, and then try it. Of course, I'll probably have to rebalance it and things, but yeah, that's what they told me to do. To do this, you're going to need a 1/16 size Allen key. I didn't have one, so I had to order it from Amazon, and I've painted it TRD yellow, so I'll always know that this is the one for this. So you have to get up underneath here, and there's a little grub screw. The first time I did this, I actually used a little, like, dentist's mirror. You see that? There we go. Mine were extremely tight, so just be aware of that. The Allen key didn't want to go into the grub screw originally. This is very, very difficult to do on the car. I'm sure it's really easy on a bench, but I'm not on a bench. Yeah, it's difficult with long hair too. Okay, what are you going to do? Are you going to use some kind of feeler gauge for this? It's probably a good idea. I've already moved them all out off camera. What I want to do now is actually set them to a set distance so that I know. I've got a feeler gauge here, but according to Panic, there isn't actually a set specific distance that they should be. So I'm just going to go with 1 centimeter. That should be enough clearance. See, the problem is everything expands and contracts when it gets hot and cold. So I'm going to loosen this one off, put the feeler gauge in, do my best to juggle 3 things at once, slide this back over, tighten it back up again, and pull the feeler gauge back out. Yeah. Okay, other side. Because you can't see... Oh God, okay, that's on the ground. Being yellow, that actually helps. Okay, loosen that one off, peel the spring out of the way, get my feeler gauge in there, squeeze it onto the feeler gauge, tighten the grub screw back up, pull the feeler gauge out. We'll check the bottom. It didn't actually go on straight, did it? No. So yeah, it's quite time consuming, but then when it comes to ITBs, what isn't time consuming? I should probably undo this as well, honestly. It's going to ruin my balance and everything else, but it's going to make this process easier. We got to go backwards to go forwards. Yeah, it wants to go on crooked because the spring's pulling on it, but I'm not taking the spring off. I don't want to. I mean, realistically, as long as it's not binding, we shouldn't have a problem of there being too much clearance, right? One would hope. We've got clearance there, so it's not going to bind, and that's all we really need. None of this is precision. All of this is kind of, if it works, it works. And I think that's sort of the Panic way. The Panic say that I don't need to put any Loctite or anything in there, just get it done up tight, and that's as tight as I'm comfortable doing. I like precision, and there's just nothing precision about any of this. I wanted them to be the same somewhat. I don't know if the same is possible, because you got the spring pulling on it from one side, trying to twist it. If you had a feeler gauge with a slot in it, you know, you could get it either side of the butterfly thing, but I mean, I don't think those exist off the shelf. What, are you going to modify a tool to do this? I'm pretty sure that Panic didn't do that when they set them up. So, I mean, if it works for them without doing that, then it should work for me, right? That's pretty damn good. Okay, we are adjusted. Those are all now spaced off the body, and there's no reason for them to bind at all. Honestly though, I've always felt like the TPS had some binding in it, and like if I just move this with my finger, this is a lot more sort of sticky than if I was to do this. This is quite smooth and free. See how it's like a 3/4 moon, and our Allen keys underneath. So yeah, I wonder if there's one of these at the back, and the TPS is too close as well. That's possible, I suppose. Using this old technique where you use the camera on your phone to sort of as a mirror, I can see that the TPS actually bolts onto the side of this, and there is no adjustment out and in. So it's preset. So if that binds, then that is not something that I could fix. Unless I could put washers in there, I suppose, to space it out, but that's probably not a good idea. I guess this level of binding is acceptable because it is binding. It's not stopping it from closing. It's not as smooth as these. Anyway, hi. This is another thing that I worry about. Is like there's damage on that because when you see there's like marks on here. Any screw will damage metal or anything. Let's look at it logically. If I was to get this and then push it onto there, it's going to leave a mark. And it has happened and will happen on the arms that control this mechanism. I really don't like that because, well, after you mark it, well, now it's either going to sit up on the damaged part that's been pushed up, or it's going to sit lower in a lower area that's been pushed down, if that makes any sense at all, which it probably doesn't make any sense, honestly. Either way, I don't really like that. So I'm going to get these little earring things on, these little guys. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this until these two touch, and then this will go on. Grab the next one, do it so that these two touch, and then the earring goes on. You can almost do this by eye. You watch this one and you see how much it closes, and then you watch this one. I want it to begin moving when this one begins moving, and if you can do that, you'll get fairly damn close to balanced, honestly, if they're straight. In fact, I might challenge that. Let's see how balanced I can get it. I reckon it's about there, so I'm going to do that. You can get a delay. This one will move and then this one will move, rather than them moving together. That's what I'm getting right now. But it does look like this one's opening more than this one by default. I really don't like that about these, is that I can push on this and it gets them to move. Like, why? It should be solid. There's always slop in it. I really want to highlight this because you can see that when my hand moves, all arms are moving except for the one on the far side of number 3. This means that number 4 won't start moving. You can also see that the amount of movement decreases as we go further away from my hand. This looks a lot better, but I just don't know how it happens because the arms on either side of the throttle body are connected by the butterfly. So how does one side move and the other side can't? One theory I have is that when they're all balanced and set up, everything moves to the furthest end of the slop area. But when you snap the throttle closed, everything just moves back into the slop. Another theory is that because the TPS is kind of sticky, and it seems that the amount of torque is reduced every time it has to travel through those arms, perhaps the sticky TPS is holding the throttle open for that final fraction of a percent. Or maybe it's a combination of both, or maybe it's something completely different. I don't know, but we're going to send it. Under 3, a bit low, oh, really low, and really high. So as you can see, I was way off. Let that be a lesson to you. Don't think you're too good to use the gauge. I know I have to do it hot, but I just want it to warm up nicely, so I'm going to get them closer. 3, over 3, 3. Oh, we're almost there. This is so much easier without the airbox on. There we go, balanced. Like, because it's so... I hate the way these link together. I think it's janky as f. I'm sorry, but I just do. Do we still have the problem though? That's the question. Okay, so let's see. Let off gently. Just over 3. Just over 3. Quite a bit over 3. Just over 3. Now we snap it. Yeah, it's still doing it. Just under 3. Way under 3. Way under 3. and 2.5. Like, that didn't fix the problem. You can get this one to move without the other 3 moving. I mean, I think there was binding there, but it was still getting the same, phenomenon. We'll snap it closed. Yeah. Okay. Oh, same thing, but we'll let go of it gently. So spacing it out didn't fix it. I want individual stop screws for these, so they don't rely on each other for idle. Just trying to think of how I can modify this to make it work better, but I don't know. I don't know, man. I want more than I'm allowed to have, I guess. I don't know. I've contacted Panic again, and I'll see what they say. Like, I can't do any more than that. This is either as good as it gets, and I live with it, or I keep chasing this to try to make it better. Dunno.